Are you still using 30-day click and 3-day view attribution and wondering why the dashboards look great, but your cash doesn't? If you're running an e-com brand and your Google or Meta dashboard looks amazing and shows you amazing results, but the Shopify dashboard disagrees, this video will probably sting a bit. In a good way. My name is Andrej and I run a growth agency called Holo Growth. On a recent audit for a brand selling a $75 AOV product, I saw this 90-day click and 30-day view attribution, which basically means that Google was counting every single conversion, even if someone only saw the ad weeks ago and bought not because of the ad, but because of something else entirely. With that, the return on ad spend was completely fake. In this video, I'm going to show you how bloated attribution windows are lying to you and how I would reset them. First, I'll walk you through that real account and show you how 90-day click and 30-day view attribution just massively inflates the numbers and makes everything look way better than it is. Second, I'll give you the clear rules, what attribution window to use based on your product and your average order value, so you stop comparing apples to fantasy apples. And third, I'll show you how to tighten those windows and watch the return ad spend drop without completely freaking out, because your actual business didn't change. By the end, you'll trust your numbers again and will know how to set up the attribution windows so the data is not lying to you. Let's jump into the tear down. Let's start with part one. How bloated attribution completely fakes your return ad spend. So as I mentioned, I was auditing this ad account from a supplement brand selling around a $75 AOV product. In platform, the results looked good. On Meta and on Google, they had decent results. But then I looked in detail into it and I saw something that changed the whole picture. They had a 90-day click and a 30-day view attribution on Google, which basically means that if on day 0 a prospect sees the ad, and then on day 10 they receive an email, then day 20, they see an organic post from Instagram. And then day 25, they see a meta ad from you. And then on day 29, they decide to buy. That is like they have seen enough and they finally buy the product. With that attribution window on Google, Google will credit 100% of the purchase of the order towards the Google ads. And it will show you that that person came from the Google ads. Even though they only saw an ad, they didn't even click on it, they didn't engage with it. They just saw it and potentially didn't even realize that they saw it because Google showed it like some kind of weird display ad in a weird placement that the prospect didn't even realize. And then 28 days later, 29 days later, they end up buying after they had a lot of touch points with the brand and a lot of interaction with other platforms. And then Google just gives all the credit towards the Google ad. And it doesn't matter whether the person clicked on it, whether the Google ad had any influence on the decision of them buying. And if they clicked on an ad, then it's even 90 days. That means 3 months later, like they clicked on a Google ad once, 3 months later, they buy the product and it still gets credited towards the Google ads. Now imagine you multiply that across thousands of orders. Your ROAS gets massively inflated and you don't even know which ads, which campaigns, which platform is actually generating you results. With them, it was even worse because a lot of customers were coming back and they were reordering. And all of those purchases, Google would also count and credit towards the ad. Because if, let's say on day 29, someone bought, and obviously that got credited towards Google, but then on day 60, they buy again because it's a supplement brand. It's a product that people buy multiple times. And then on day 75, they buy again. And if on day 0, they clicked on an ad, because it's 90-day click attribution and 30-day view attribution, but let's say they clicked on an ad, then that purchase will also get credited towards the Google ad, towards the one Google ad that they clicked on 90 days ago. And Google will count all of those orders as orders that came from Google, even though the order wasn't influenced by the Google ads and they had tons of touch points, and especially with the average order value of $75, it's not something where you think about it for a very long time. It's not a product where someone will be in the consideration stage for 2 months, 3 months, and decide whether they will buy the product or not. For most people, if it's a $75 product, they will maybe think about it for a few days, a week or two, and then they will buy or not buy, and that's it. If the attribution window is longer than your real buying cycle, the ROAS is just lying to you. Now let's move on to section number 2. What attribution window to use for which price point? What attribution? So for most of the brands that we work with, they're below $100 AOV. And with those products, it's usually not something where the customer will think about it for a very long time and decide whether to buy the product or not. With those products, you should do 7-day click plus 1-day view as the main attribution window. And that is across Meta, and that is the basic attribution window on Meta that Meta will propose to you, but also on Google. On Google is especially a platform where we oftentimes see massively inflated numbers. And you want to have 7-day click plus 1-day view. Because if in the last 7 days someone clicked on an ad, or in the last 24 hours someone saw an ad and then they buy, chances are really high that that ad had an influence, had an impact on the purchasing behavior. On Meta, you have to check, like even if you use 7-day click plus 1-day view attribution, you can look at the breakdown, what kind of, like how many conversions you're getting at 7-day click only, so not looking at the view through attribution. And then if it's really inflated with the 1-day view, then it might even make sense to remove the 1-day view and go with 7-day click only. And if you have a really cheap product, affordable product where a lot of people make impulse purchasers, and at the same time you have a lot of volume and you get a lot of daily purchasers, then it might even make sense to do 1-day click attribution and be very aggressive, have very tight windows, and really only give credit to the ad if someone clicked on an ad in the last 24 hours. But usually 7-day click plus 1-day view should be fine. If your AOV is between $100 to $300, that is where you can be a little bit more open. So on Meta, you should still have 7-day click plus 1-day view, but on Google, at this point, you can extend it. And you can look at 7 to 14 days click, 7 to 14 day click, but it should still be only 1-day view. Because if someone just sees an ad and they don't even engage with it, they don't click on it, it's very, very difficult to predict whether that ad had an impact on the purchase or not. It might have had a positive impact, it might not have, and it's tough to know. Like you don't even know whether the person really saw the ad, paid attention to the ad, or just skipped through it. So you always want to have only 1-day view, but for the clicks at that price point, you can look at 7 to 14 days. And I'd say it depends on, like, first of all, your product and whether it's something where people spend a longer time researching it and thinking about it. Then you can do it to 14 days. And also if your volume is low, like if you're not getting a lot of purchasers per week and you're struggling with getting like 50 conversions per week, if you have only 7-day click attribution, then you should do 14 days and extend it a little bit. And then if you're really selling high ticket and you have multiple steps through the customer journey and it's above $300 or potentially even above $500, that's where on Meta you should still do 7-day click plus 1-day view. Because otherwise Meta just goes crazy and you can't even select nowadays, but you can still see like with 28-day click how the performance is. And Meta tends to over attribute anyway, so we don't want to make the attribution windows longer. But on Google, you can do a longer, and that's where it might make sense to do up to 30-day click. 30-day click, and again 1-day view. Because at that price point, and especially if you have multiple touch points, it takes a while until the person is willing and able to place the order, and they might spend a few weeks researching it, thinking about it, and there you can extend it to up to 30 days. I would not really recommend going above that. Like we audit a lot of accounts where the brand is using a 90-day click attribution because the agency or the media buyer wants the results to look as good as possible and have as many conversions inside the ad account as possible. But usually if someone clicked on an ad 90 days ago, like the ad potentially had an impact on the purchase, but it wasn't the main driver of it. And also we just don't want to train the algorithm on those conversions and to target more of those people where it took them 3 months to convert. And obviously, if in between they click on another Google ad or engage with another ad, then it gets reset. It's really only like looking at people who clicked on an ad 90 days ago, didn't have any other touch point with the Google ads, and then converted. So that's based on the average order value. Obviously, there are some product categories where it might make sense to have a slightly longer one, other product categories where it might make sense to have a slightly lower one. But with based on the AOV, like below $100, people usually don't need 30 days to decide whether they want to buy a product or not. And there you want to have the attribution windows more tightened. That will lead to your dashboards and your in-platform metrics look worse. But at the same time, you will not have bloated attribution. You have numbers that you can rely on, and the business metrics will not be affected by that. Like long term, they can only be affected by it positively because the ads will be able to be optimized better. You'll be able to see which ads are really working, which ads are really generating results, and what does the real return on ad spend look like. But even if, like, it's not that those purchases suddenly don't happen anymore. Like you will still have people that buy after clicking a Google ad, and then 2 months later, they will just not show up in the Google Ads dashboard or the Meta Ads dashboard because we don't want to credit those towards the platforms. Now let's talk about how to reset the attribution windows without completely freaking out. Because your results, the dashboards will look worse when you change it. Because obviously the attribution windows will be tighter. Like if someone buys after a few weeks, a few months, they will not get credited towards the ads, so the results will look worse. So what might happen is that before you make the change, you spend 10K on ads, you get 40K in attributed conversion value, and it shows you a 4x ROAS. After the change, you still have the 10K in ad spend, but you only have 2,500 in reported conversion value. So 15K less, and the return ad spend will be only 2.5 after that. And first of all, you will probably freak out, or you will think that the performance is really bad. But the thing is, your Shopify revenue will look the same. If you do a proper job and you change the attribution window and nothing else gets changed, the numbers in the dashboards will look significantly worse, but at the same time, your revenue will be exactly the same. So Shopify will be the same. And in the end, that is what matters. We all want to optimize for real metrics, for real business numbers. And those are the things that you see in Shopify, not inside the platforms. And with the change, nothing in the real business has changed. Only how the platform attributes, how the platform credits purchasers towards the campaigns. And from now on, you can judge the channels by only two things. First of all, the blended MER. If you look at all of the ad spend compared to all of the revenue, how is the blended marketing efficiency ratio? And is it going in the right direction? Is it profitable? Is it improving? And then second, how does the in-platform return on ad spend, and more important, the trend line of the return ad spend look like if you use consistent and the right attribution windows? So as a rule, pick one attribution window. And then stick to it. Never change it. Lock it in, because then you're able to judge trends and see how it develops in real time, and you don't chase nice screenshots and high return on ad spend numbers, because that doesn't matter. It matters that you can grow your business, have real numbers, and know what's going on. If you're an ecom brand doing 50K to 500K per month and you want us to take a look at your setup, your attribution, tighten it, and show you what your return ad spend really looks like and how you are able to scale, book a free profit clarity session. We'll go through your Meta and Google account, show you what your real numbers look like, and assess whether or how you're able to scale the brand. And we'll be able to give you a clear rule of what your customer acquisition cost, payback period, return ad spend has to look like for you to be able to really scale profitably, so that you don't end up chasing vanity metrics and nice return ad spend numbers, and at the end, don't have any profit and cash left in the business. There's a link in the description, fill it out, and if we're a good fit, we can walk through your own breakdown.